All right, it's Tuesday, October 25th, 2022 for the regular board meeting for Santa Cruz Valley Unified School District number 35. It is 5 p.m. With that, would we please stand for the pledge of allegiance? Ms. Vasquez, would you lead us?
Again, yeah, absolutely. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Except the name.
All right, Mr. Brad Beach,
Present.
Ms. Susan Fobian,
Here.
Ms. Lourdes Vasquez,
Present.
Mr. Rene Ramirez.
Here.
And myself, Joel Kramer. All 5 members are present for this governing board meeting. Item B, adoption of the agenda, Mr. Verdugo.
No recommended changes, thank you.
Do I hear a motion to approve the agenda as is?
So moved.
Second.
Motion second, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please acknowledge by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, 5-0. Call to the vote. All right, thank you. Item number 2, going on to presentations, superintendent's report, Mr. Verdugo.
Thank you. Wanted to mention a few things. The informational items that were requested, we received some of that information with as far as class size and all that kind of stuff we can go through during our discussion, but there is information regarding the revenue from the football games for 3-year span and some additional items for you. Wanted to thank the board and the administration that was able to attend the homecoming game and do the ribbon cutting. Thank you. It's great to have that finally open, officially open. The game wasn't as successful, but it was great to have the facility finally open. The letter grades ADE, they set the cut scores and the letter grades will be out soon. There are still a few items that need to be put in from the state as far as bonus points for science, and then at the high school ACT Aspire points. But I think when we have our next board meeting, we will already have those grades, and I'm very, very happy with where our letter grades will end up. Currently, the grades show that we will be at all levels a minimum of a B. So all school sites will be a minimum of a B. So that's they can go up from there, but nobody will go down. So we're looking forward to having that discussion in our November meeting. I'll remind the board and the community that Hayes Memorial will be this weekend. And so that will be at the PAC, I believe is going to be, so you're welcome to that.
Time on that there, Mr.
Do we know, I think it's
1 to 3?
I think I believe it's 1 to 3 p.m.
What is it again? I'm sorry, what day?
This Saturday.
Saturday.
The information I have on the calendars, 3 to 6. They
3 to 6.
adjusted it.
Okay. They just this time, because it was originally at the football field and they moved it to the PAC.
Okay, so Nogales made an announcement. I think they said 1 to 3, so maybe shoot them an email.
Mr. Fanning will probably.
Yeah.
Thank you. Also wanted to notify the board that I attended the West Ed board meeting this past week in San Francisco. It was a very, very positive meeting. Got to meet with the Secretary of Education, Miguel Cardona, which was very interesting to hear his perspective on education on the federal level. And then also had a meeting with the Director of Education from Harvard, Thomas Kane, who was an economist under Bill Clinton as well. He talked about learning loss. And so being part of the West Ed board has really allowed me to not only work on a regional level, state level, but in a national level, have conversations with those individuals and also let them know what we're doing as a district. Because some of the things that we're talking about, learning loss and things, we're already having plans in place. And so they were very impressed with the things that we're doing, not only from an academic standpoint, but all the different things like having telemed on campus, food, nutrition, having a healthy school, healthy US school, all the different things. So it was very nice to be able to brag about our district on a national level as well. So, but that's it. Thank you.
Item B, governing board member report, Ms. Vasquez.
Anything you want to talk about?
I know everything
Well,
that
I can come back to you.
Yes, please.
All right, Mr. Ramirez.
Thank you, sir. So first off, I want to say that homecoming was absolutely fantastic. It was a real pleasure to see everybody there. Well, the governing board members there, and it was fun to watch Joel and Brad. Mr. President and Mr. Beach cut the ribbon. It was really cool. I could see they're really into it and just having a really good old time. And so it's nice to be greeted by everybody, and the festivities at halftime were a lot of fun. They're exciting, and the kids were all into it, and the fans, I could tell the community was so happy to be accommodated by the new bleachers, and going up there to the press box was a blast. To talk to Steve a lot about all kinds of things. He took us up there, took me and Mr. Beach and Mr. Kramer up there. We got to talk about old times too, a lot of really cool things that had happened in sports. And it was just great to have a view of the entire game from the Hawks Nest up there. So thank you for all that you did, everybody, to put that together, and to wine and dine us like you guys always do, spoil us rotten. So thank you. I also had a chance to have some school visits. And first I saw Mimi. I saw she ran a really tight ship over there at San Cayetano. She was real cheerful and took the time to have me come in, talk to her a little bit. And Bethany too, at Guatemundi. I went to all of them. And at the end of my visits, I asked each one of them what kind of mark they had on their own school, not pushed by the administration, like personalized learning. But I asked them, well, what makes this place you? And so Mimi said that one of the things that she really likes to do, Mrs. Calante, was that she likes doing her Monday ceremonies with the kids, and that she really enjoyed celebrating teacher awards. So everybody I visited, they were all dressed professionally, which I was very impressed with. Ms. Patterson, she talked about her WIN notebooks and how the students keep track of their own progress and talk to parents during parent-teacher conferences about their own shortcomings. So I thought that was pretty nice. She was working on the cosmetics of her school. She was trying to make things a little bit better. So I think with regard to murals, but I'm not exactly sure about that. Mr. Jackson, well, he was really proud of the people that he hired, he said, because he said they would go the extra mile for his school. So he thought that this was so important. And I like that, Mr. Jackson, because I'm a real firm believer of that. I think that it's so important in interviews, not just to do the rigmarole, but to always ask them, like, so what are you going to bring that's extra? So, and I also got a chance to talk to him a little bit and get to know him a little bit better. And I learned that he had been a principal at a school on the south side of Tucson. So man, he must have gotten some pretty good training over there before he came down here. So, and he loves the school and he loves working for us, which is awesome. So I talked to Ms. Cabrera and she showed me around and talked about the bond money and how all the new cosmetic improvements of the school. And I got a chance to visit Mr. McElrath in his art class, and wow, what a great place to go. And so I was wondering if you could possibly show that slide of the picture that I sent you. There it is. Awesome. So this right here is the trophy that they won from the Santa Cruz County Fair for the Best Show Award. And I think he's done this several years in a row, right? 3 years in a row, right? And if you go on to the next picture. There it is. That's the art that he exhibited, in which he won the prize. And he's so proud. Just look at him. I mean, you just see him beaming. You just see how much he loves to teach his kids. And I was impressed with that when I walked in there. He just, I saw, we worked together when we were at Calabasas, and he was administrator there, and he gave it his all, you know, to bring discipline to the school. But wow, there's nothing like seeing him in action and something that he absolutely loves. And you see his kids just feed off of his energy. So Claudia's over there nodding because she remembers. So Max is just something else. He does a great job for his school. And Mac, if you're listening, hats off to you, because you're just the epitome of what we look for in a teacher at a school. So thank you. And there was another slide there. Yeah, showed one of his students art, and he was very proud of this student, and he gave her some special stuff of his to help her become a better artist. And so she drew the scorpion there. A lot of nice detail, but it was nice. I just took a few pictures of the kids in action. So this was one that really left an impression on me, because she's really something else. For a middle school student to draw like this, I can't draw for the life of me. So that was just something. I was impressed. So good job to you. And thank you for taking the time to show me around, to talk to me about how you're student centered and so forth. And you push that in your school. That was her thing. And Mr. Estrada, he talked to me about ECAPS and how the students, that was his big thing. He said if you had to say something that I do in the school, it's ECAPS, and I like that my students keep track of their own personal progress, and that they too, you know, they look at what their shortcomings are, and they try to take care of business with regard to academics. And he talked about dual enrollment, which I'm sure the superintendent's real happy to hear about, because that's a big thing that he pushes in our district, Steve and everybody else, the whole team. So that's really cool, super cool. And I had a good time visiting the schools. So that's it. Thank you for your patience, guys. And thank you for last minute posting up those pictures for me, Shannon, and the superintendent as well. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Mr. Beach.
Yeah, pretty much did what Mr. Ramirez said, is the grand opening of the football field stadium. Yeah, that's amazing down there. That press box, the whole setup down there is just outstanding. I can't wait to see the tennis courts go in, the swimming pool. It's definitely going to be the gem of Santa Cruz County. So and hats off to our football players. They fought hard. They came up short. Hopefully those two individuals that were injured, you know, my best to them on a quick recovery. I know injuries. And over the weekend, the Nogales Bike Classic took place down in Nogales. We had such a community support down there with our community, our businesses, our own Shannon and her husband, Mark. You did the 40-miler. You guys should have got speeding tickets because they were all the way down there. So yeah, she did the 40 miles, and she's getting ready for the Tour de Tucson, which is a 60-mile up there. I think you're entered in. So way to represent Rio Rico. And Mimi was out there as we were passing by. She was throwing water bottles at us. So she was a volunteer. And her husband, Chris, had the 80-milers, was driving the fire truck in front. He was being the lead vehicle. So it was an all-around team effort to put this together. And also with South 32, they sponsored us, water bottles, towels, etc. So the whole community came together for that event. So hats off to everybody. Let's see, donations leading in from the Nogales Bike Classic. I saw all kids bike. I think 24 bikes are donated with gear. Wow. That's a lot of money there, $18,000. And man, I wish I was one of those kids back in the day. I had to piece my bike together off junk parts, and you know, but these guys getting 24 bikes. So super proud of that organization, Strider Ed Foundation. And Sodexo gas range, they donated for $2,000. So expecting a lot of food to come out of that. And looking at that artwork, I know our food truck's coming around. The wrap around right there, you know, get the kids involved. I know we're trying to come up with some slogans. That's gonna be a blast to find out what the winning one is. And last but not least, Spirit Week. I was breezing through social media, saw the kids in the costumes, a pumpkin on Twitter. They had a pumpkin carving contest. So all these activities, all these clubs, just, you know, the more the merrier. That way every kid has a niche and they can sort of fit in where they fit in. So that's about it. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Ms. Fogan.
Thank you. Principal reports, really great. Thank you all. I like seeing all that action that's going on. The other event on Friday was the carnival. And it was phenomenal. I mean, the place was packed. And as I was walking around, I mean, I heard more than once, that's the best $2 I ever spent. It just, you know, all the different sites were doing little fundraisers. And then there was a table with our international teachers. And I said, well, what are you selling? I said, we're not selling anything. We made some of our food and we wanted people to be able to try it. Okay, so there was a little bit left and I had a bite of something and it was terrific. And I chatted with them for a while about, you know, being here, and they all were very enthusiastic about being Santa Cruz Valley. But it was, to me, pretty special that they had an opportunity that they could have sold something that they just wanted to present, you know, a part of their life to us. So I thought that was great. The hawk dancers were super. The carnival, I asked Mr. Estrada, I said, you know, who came up with this idea? And he said it was the kids. Which I think is absolutely wonderful that, you know, I like entrepreneurship early. So besides having fundraiser activities, that they even thought of doing something that big, I was totally impressed. Thank you.
Ms. Vasquez.
Okay, everything that everybody said, fantastic, the way that everything in the district is moving forward and the kids are getting so much things that they're doing. Also to piggyback on the things that happened on Friday. I know that the middle schools were also involved, because I know that that it wasn't just for the high school, it was also middle schools that were involved. And I thought that was really cool that they could come together and they can do all of this, you know, for all of them, you know, and just so many good things that are happening. You know, just our kids, you know, have so much more to do than what they did before. Because I remember, I mean, my kids came through, you know, through this district, all three of them, and there wasn't anything for them to do. And now I look at everything that's happening and I'm just like, wow, you know, with everything that's happening on the bottom, you know, when everything comes up, the pool, I mean, it's just going to be such a good place. Not that it isn't already, because I think that we have a fantastic district, but I think that, you know, that this is going to make sure that we keep more of our students here. And that's what we really want.
All right. All right, yes. Everything was really, really nice on Friday. Brandon, I'm glad that the carnivals went well. Certainly the outcome of the game, as we all said,
Yeah.
unfortunate. Certainly the top of being on the Hawk's Nest was even the greater thrill, I think, being on top of it. That even gives you a more panorama, not that didn't, but it just seems like you're standing outside and it was really nice. I really liked it. And thank you, whoever left the pizza, the snacks and everything else. That was really courteous to provide that for us up there. And I didn't get a chance to grab anything, but I'm sure that everyone else was grateful for that. Speaking of that, I just remembered I talked to Mr. Hector about this, that we're gonna make sure that we are better than our competitors, because I was trying to remember what had done back in the days, and I didn't do it because it started before I did. But we had talked about it, if we need funding from the board to start feeding the referees after the game, to have a spread for them, because our other competitive school is still doing that, and that's been at least 25 years that they're still doing that. Because one of the guys has been a referee for 28 years. He said, yes, they still do it down there. So, you know, I think that we could at least, if he can't find the funds, that we as a board could at least do that to bring the hospital, at least for the football games. I'm not saying for everything, but the football games is certainly something that's it gives good recognition. In fact, one of the guys that runs, and he was a referee, he said that was the other thing about going down that area because of that. So hopefully we can get onto that with feeding our referees when they come visit. Also, I know we had talked about it, but hopefully we get an idea. But certainly that scoreboard, that brand new one that's coming in, because that's gonna go where the pool is gonna knock it out. So hopefully we get a much larger one that will have lettering and captions and everything else that's do that. And I don't know if we ever talked about it, but certainly we can't vote or anything, but certainly bringing in the end zone clocks as well, because that adds an ambiance to the stadium, which will be good for obviously purposes, showing off again, because I know Mr. Rudo said, well, maybe we could even host more games than that. Well, certainly that would be a good thing. So hopefully we can get that going as well. And then I was gonna pull all these, but certainly if we can get more of the, I don't know if the career and technical education has new of this, but this one that I pulled from, Ms. Poppin was still on there. So I think it's a few years old, would we say, or no? Yes.
Couple years, yeah.
So, yeah, so maybe if, I don't know, do we have new ones of the CTE like that? Maybe we can get somebody to take them down to the, because I pulled this from the chamber, that tells you how many times I've gone to the chamber, huh? So with that, and also I know I've mentioned that before, but hopefully, Mr. Verdugo, if it's not too late, the 2022 National Conference on Active School Threats is November 29th and December 1st, held at the Hilton Phoenix Resort at the Peaks. And it's a 2.5 days, so I don't know if we plan to get some, I had mentioned that about a few weeks ago or a month ago, that if we can get somebody there to that one, because I think that would be very important to what's transpiring. And certainly we want to look at the 2023 National School Safety Conference. That's July 24th, 25th, or 6th, or 7th. It's a 4-day conference held in Las Vegas. So hopefully we can get people at that one, but if you can get some last minute, couple people to this Phoenix one, I think it'd be very good. That's all I have to say. Thank you. All right, number 3, information, discussion, action. Item A, discuss enrollment and class size, Mr. Verdugo.
Thank you. I wasn't able to attend the last meeting, but we've had a lot of discussion on enrollment in general and class size. And I know that last year we brought it to the board, the regulation that IBB worked on as far as what our endeavors are for class size. So I just wanted to update the board and answer any questions that the board may have. So you received 2 pieces of information. One is the updated number of students we have at each school site, as well as what the average class sizes are. Now, the high school is a little bit different. I wanted to highlight that one because it's hard to do average class size. If you just did average class size based on the number of staff they have and the number of students, it comes out to about 25. But then you have, singleton classes, you have classes that like an AP class may have 12 students. Then you have a different class that may have 34 students. And so it's hard to balance. It's really actually hard to balance on every grade level because you may have students that move in, leave, all the different things that they're starting to play. And so want to just highlight our enrollment is up and our open enrollment is down. So wanted to really let that set in a little bit. So what does that mean? That means that, as Ms. Moxley said, we're keeping our students. So it means that the students are not leaving our district. So we're getting students back. So even though we are still having quite a few open enroll students coming from neighboring districts, our enrollment is up because we are actually keeping our students choosing to be their school and district of choice. And then also just highlighting a reminder as far as the class size policy, which says we will create class sizes, and then our regulation that follows that. So if you look at the regulation for our regular ed, last year we set some endeavor numbers. Again, these are not hard numbers. They're because there is no required state regulation that says we have to have, and we do it self-imposed. And we did it through IBB. So we worked hard to get some numbers. And so you look at kinder through 2nd grade is 21, 3rd through 5th grade is 27, 6th through 8th grade is 30, and then 9th through 12 is 32. And then we have some remedies for that if there are class sizes above that. And so when they are above that, we will hire additional teachers if we can. So we always have some set aside. Ms. Brown and I work when we do allocations to set aside 1 or 2 positions generally that if we need to hire, we will hire an additional staff member. And then a lot of times it's hard to do. So like, for instance, if we have an overflow in science where it's just one class that like at the high school level, we're not going to hire one teacher for one class, so what we would do is then add possibly a 5th for that teacher where they teach an extra period and then they get paid for that. But then on the lower levels, it's hard to add because then you're taking, say for instance, we have a 3rd grade that is got 82 students. And then that number is high. When we want to add a teacher, now you're dropping down to where they're less than 20. So it's hard to do that. So, but we still want to recognize that there are class sizes that are larger than what our endeavors are. So we have some remedies for it. So we add aides to assist with that. And we have additional funding for that. So those are our things. And I'll be honest, a lot of districts don't have additional plans for that. Is whatever you set your class size at, that's what it is. And that's what they're going to stick with. But we understand that, and we work really hard with IBB and our teachers and our administrators to make sure that if we do have additional, and they come back and ask. So for instance, I'll use Guatamundi, for instance. Right now, they in their 6th grade, their enrollment had dropped. And so they, instead of having 6 teachers in each grade level, they only have 5. But now they've had a little uptick in their 6th grade and they need additional staff because they're close to 35, 36 in their classes, but we can't hire somebody right now. So we're working on ways to remedy that. But in December, when we have pathway teachers that are going to be completing their program, we will add an additional teacher to 6th grade in December. And so then they will move to 6 teachers. And so we have a qualified teacher. And so we have funding for that. And so we've set aside funding for that. So again, we're always looking at ways to make sure that our class sizes are one, that we are able to have teachers be supported, but also making sure that our students receive what they need. So any questions on the enrollment that I can answer for the board?
Ms. Vasquez,
No, good. I understand.
Beach,
No, just a comment, being a classroom teacher myself, once it gets over that 32 threshold, it's almost learning doesn't really exist. It's more of classroom management. You hand out a worksheet and you try to manage the class. I had good classroom management. I could handle 38 kids. When I was at Rio Rico, some of my highest years, the class sizes were growing.
Yeah.
But, I had the discipline under control and that sort of allowed me to accommodate those numbers. But, the 32, especially in our core classes at all levels, we gotta strive to get those numbers down, it's just, students first, their learning comes first. And, it looks like we're always looking for ways to address that. And, let's keep on doing that.
Yeah. And I've been a teacher, it's been a while, but I know that when you have great classroom management, you become the dumping ground sometimes
Yes.
for because you can handle numerous students. And I taught PE, and that's like the biggest dumping ground. And I've had class sizes of 60, and with one person. So I feel the pain, and why I think that we always, as administrators, look to try to alleviate some of that from our teaching staff and try to find ways, whether it be adding an aide or doing things. But high school is the most difficult to do. And that's where you teach, obviously, and it's hard to do because of the singleton classes, and then having that and then hiring somebody that can teach those classes. So adding a 5th, we have, I don't know how many teachers that teach that extra period at the high school, so we can alleviate some of that class size.
Yeah, and I know the class sizes are set up for about 32. after that, you know, you're bringing in chairs. I had two that sat on the back tables, so, you know, when it was real bad, but yeah, we gotta, class sizes for teachers is everything. Numbers where they should be, 32 at the elementary level, even lower, you know.
Well, yeah, elementary is a lot, yeah, 27, so. And one of the things that we're exploring as well, and it's not in this, but it's the instructional time model is also going to allow us to do some of the different things with personalized learning, where some work at home online and others come in person and doing some hybrid work. Yeah, so there are some creative ways that we're also looking to alleviate some of that.
Last but not least, I know our district is growing and will continue to grow. You know, just start looking down the line as a board, you know, either build more classrooms, trailers, hiring more teachers if the funding's there, but if we can get grants. But all that needs to be attacked on every front.
Yeah, and when we are very fortunate, Mr. Brown does an exceptional job with Dr. Lambert looking at facilities and facilities management and looking, and that's how we got the school facilities board funds to expand at the high school. So that $8 million came from knowing that we are going to grow. The only issue at the elementary levels, and you'll see on here, each building on this form has a school capacity. So school facilities will not allow us to build anything unless we are above that capacity or at capacity. So what they will say first is, okay, move your boundaries, move those students to those schools that have open space. And so then when that becomes a transportation issue and other things, so we will definitely look at, that's why the bond is so important, because the bond allows you to build things outside the school facilities board that we need. And so we've, you know, with ESSER funds, we looked at, like San Gaetano was probably the one site that we would need to, because they are growing and that we've capped in a lot of ways that site. So trying to figure out how to add space is something that we're always looking at over there. A good question.
Ms. Follian.
I have no questions. Thank you.
No, so I thought you're really inquisitive on this, Mr. Ramirez. I'll go first, because I only have one or two questions. You certainly have some, but I would certainly like to know if you can get it to us, not right this next week or two, within 2 weeks or so, but even for next semester, because they will be almost the end of the semester. If you can get us like the breakdown, because as a person that obviously taught you the core classes, Mr. Beach, but sometimes, and like you said, Mr. Verdugo, sometimes your core class teachers are what's the word I want to use, are taking on a few more students, and some of our honors classes at times don't have as many students. So if you, and not only just at the high school level, because I know how the high school, and I know the PE, you try to toss as many as you can. If you can get 45, you're going well. But that certainly, I know how those things work. But certainly I know that we've always, and this has gone back from the days of, and one of our former board members, and that would be Mr. Brian Vandervoort, who was very adamant about this. For those of you that remember Brian and his days of questioning the class sizes continuously. And we had some good discussions, but we were always focusing on not only the high school, but the elementary levels and the first and second and third graders as well. Because obviously when they were coming into school, we had that discussion. Steve, I think you were at the elementary principal at that time. But if you could give us like even just the class sizes of those, of all the schools per teacher, because I would certainly like to look, because I think that, you know, as Algebra 1 class, which a lot of the kids are in there, but most of them don't like really being in there. As a former world history teacher, not a lot of kids like being in there. But what are our numbers in these kind of classes to offset? Because I know that our honors programs at times, and I may be wrong, and I hope I am, maybe the honors classes are flush with students, and we're sitting at 35 in there, which would be great. We could certainly, you know what I'm saying, like that. Because I remember we used to look at that, the class sizes as per teacher, schools, subjects, whatever, because I know you can break that down per school. and just give that to us? Because certainly when we have that discussion next semester, because you're gonna ask for us to probably bring on more teachers, we have that information in front of us to support, not that we didn't, but just to have that in front of. And then when we're discussing that in public, the public needs to know, hey, what are you doing? Why are you spending more money? Well, this is why we're doing it. And we can have that discussion. It's more, open to that, to where we're not just saying, well, the class sizes are 24. That's why we need it.
No, we can do period enrollment.
Just for the evidence. And not like I said, maybe even till for starting next semester. When you start approaching for us about that, possibilities of increasing teachers. Because I think that's very important to discuss, because again, I don't think that the best teacher should always have to take on the most too. That's, and sometimes they do. As you just stated, that happens, so. As a former teacher, I hope you can respect that.
I can, very much so.
All right, but that's Mr. Ramirez, that's what all I had to say. All right, I turn this over to Mr. Ramirez. I think I already asked. Did I ask you?
No.
Sorry.
Kidding. No, but I don't have any questions. I understand.
I apologize.
No worries.
Be like my colleague.
Right, all right. Mr. Ramirez, you have the floor.
Thank you, sir. Well, and going off of something that you said, yes, it's true, Mr. President, that sometimes the best teachers take on the heaviest load. But the converse can also be said at times when they have AP classes. Sometimes they have smaller classes. And so the heavier burden sometimes is on the people that are not the heads of the department, because usually the heads of the department, no matter what anyone says, usually they have first choice on their schedule. But even if you push that aside, because Mr. Shadow's looking at me, well, I don't know about that. But even if you push that off to the side, just the fact that they get they're good teachers that have solid education, which we want to be teaching, say, our calc classes like Mr. Kumar. It just happens naturally that they get the kids that track themselves. And I'm telling you, we say we don't have tracking, but the kids track themselves. We know that. And so the classes get smaller as they go up. And so they sometimes get the smaller group. But getting back to something else here. When I went to the high school to visit, speaking of core classes, I asked Mr. Hicks what the cap was on core classes. And before anybody starts jumping on me about this, I'm just telling you what I heard, okay? So Mr. Hicks told me that the cap on the core classes is 34. Is this correct?
It's what they try to do, yeah.
Okay, so when I was there, and I remember when Steve taught in the English department, I believe the cap was 30. They really shot for 30. And so that has me concerned, brings me back to Mr. Beach's concern, which is once you start getting over 30, and you missed all of us here who have taught in the public schools, we all know, once you get to 30, it's true. Then you start to just, if you're a strong teacher, as you say, you can handle it. You can handle more. I remember I taught 6th, 5th for probably the last 7-10 years of my career, and people knew that they could pack in 38 in my class. And that's what I had in my German 1 classes. Hilda too, Hilda Van Dynen. She's very good too. People know that she can handle this. She has good rapport and good way with them. We have a different style. I don't know. I was just different in the way I handled my situation, but we could both handle it. And I remember on the lower levels, we have these kinds of classes, big populations of kids that want to take foreign language at that level. That's what you get. That's just the way it goes. And many times we were told, hey, there's just not enough money to get another teacher. Sometimes I understand that, but then that'll always lead me to ask why. Why is it that we don't have the money to take care of that kind of business? Because that should be our main concern, is the academics of the school. So that has me concerned. I don't know.
They can answer that.
I don't know what the solutions to this are, and I hate pointing out problems without having the solution. I think I learned that well from the admin, from Steve and Kate Mueller, is that, look, you're going to bring something. We don't mind hearing it, but you better have a solution for it. And I like that. I like that attitude, but I really don't know. I'm all ears. What do you do about the situation if you find out that you don't have the money, but it's still a problem? We can't just
Can I answer
It's
that?
like, yes,
So it's not a financial issue. I'll tell you that. Well, if there is a need, it's not a financial issue with us. It may have been when you were teaching, but it's not any longer a financial issue. What the issue is that if you hire a teacher, now you take it from a 35 or 34, and you hire another teacher, now you're adding them for a full-time job of 6 periods, and you're taking, so if the German class has 180 or 190 students, and now you add a full-time German teacher, you see what I'm saying? Now the math becomes where they're now gonna have classes of 12 or so. So it's not.
It has to be justification for a full-time position.
Justification for a full-time position. And so that's where, again, some of the high school is most difficult. So the easier way to solve some of that is to add a 5th. So now you as a German teacher, instead of teaching 5 periods, you're gonna teach 6 periods. And so we try to lower but then you have other things that factor in the high school level where their schedule may not work out for those things. So trying to make the schedule work out. So there is, and that's why I say some of the solution may be doing some of the instructional time models, things like that, because it's not necessarily a financial issue with hiring staff. We allocate based on the number of students, but it's also finding another German teacher. So unless you're willing to come back, you know, that we're gonna have to find, and I'm just using German as because that was the class you used, but finding another person that's certified in those areas. So like this year, using German again, we did add additional class periods of German because there's more interest. And so it's not again, a financial issue where we get, we're not gonna hire. We do, Ms. Brown does an exceptional job, and you know that we have contingency. So part of that contingency, that the rainy day fund or whatever you want to call it, is that if we have an uptick of numerous kids, then we will add a teacher. So for instance, again, like at Guatamundi, as I mentioned, there is a justification, but we don't have a teacher. So if I could add a teacher right now and we could hire one, we'd be able to do that. But we have to wait till that person finishes the program so that we can add that class. And so I think, you know, the thing about previously, it might have been a financial issue, but we're in different times right now, and it may come back to where it's a financial issue. And I'm not going to say that we're going to add a bunch of staff, but as Mr. Kramer said, we have to have a justification of what those class sizes are, what the period needs are, and then we add those individuals. But one of, again, the easiest thing at the high school to do is add, that's why you see it's 56.33 because they get additional periods and things like that. So maybe a teacher that is there is part of that 56, but now they get that 0.33 because they added a period to their overall schedule. And so, like I said, we are working as hard, and we know that those class sizes are tough to do when you want as small as possible, but there is different factors that go into it. So sorry, I'm long-winded, but I wanted to answer that question for you.
That's all right. Well, you won't get grilled like I do when I'm long-winded, so don't worry about it. The Rodney Dangerfield here, so don't worry about that. Well, getting back to this, I'd strongly suggest, based off what you said, that because we have a lot of people, you'd be surprised at how versatile people are. My principal in the very first school that I ever worked in, Las Cruces, New Mexico, had a bet with people that he could find a person that could teach German, math, teach algebra, and Spanish, a Spanish 1 class. And they said, there's no way you'll find somebody like this. So he came along and he won the bet, so.
He knew you though.
But I'm not the only, I'm not trying to blow my horn. I'm trying to point out to people who are very versatile. We have a lot of people who are very versatile. And one thing that I really like is we keep pushing to try to get people certified, even within the community. I love that because we might find some of these people are extremely versatile. So I'd suggest that. I don't know how far you can go with regard to people teaching subjects outside of what their education justifies. I know John had me teach science. I had never taught science in my life. And he said, you'll be okay because you have these other strengths. And so I went into it and I was very lucky. I had good colleagues who helped me out in the school, very supportive, gave me tons of material. And so I flew with it. But again, I don't want to blow my heart. I want to talk about that people can do this. I think there are a lot of versatile people out there. So I'd strongly suggest that we look at our job fairs and beat people to the draw in job fairs and try to get these people, because yes, we're far away from Tucson, and I, you know, I would say people are not pounding on our doors to administrators or teachers to work here, but we gotta go out there and go fish them out and tell them why this is, as Mr. Kramer would say, the best damn district to teach in. So I would strongly suggest that we do that. But getting back to another thing that Mr. Estrada told me, said that, well, we have this sort of formula that it's like 170. Teachers, we're not gonna have. I said, well, God, like how far are we willing to pack kids into a class and like sardines? He said, well, we have this rule of 170, so that if you do the math, 5 times 34, which is the average that we're gonna keep, is 170. Okay, so I think, okay, that still leaves us with, I was thinking, we try to work it out so that in the core classes, we have smaller classes, and probably the electives, we probably have a lot more. That's safe to say, right? We try to keep those core classes down. But my God, that's still a lot of teachers, and that's a heavy wear and tear. And again, I think that we need to start finding people that can do singletons, especially in the economy that we have. We might have a lot of people that come in and maybe pick up a couple of classes or work part-time. We need that. And I understand it's not easy to fill in the gaps because we're always looking to try to hire somebody full-time. I appreciate that, but I think we need to do a better job of that. Another thing I'd strongly suggest, and people might argue with me here, but I know it is related, is our discipline. But one of the things I keep hearing where I am, see people from our community, is that, well, why are you here and why aren't you in your district? And many of them will say it's discipline. And I'm telling you, that's a serious issue. You know, what kind of a student are we attracting if we have problems with this? What kind of students have we lost? So I think we need to keep working on this, on discipline. It's serious. And if we want to keep attracting good kids, I know you all do, then we have to keep working on that. Because as you say, you told me once before, even if the things, the PR that's going out there isn't true, it's still like, what did you say? The keyword? Perception. You said it's the perception that's out there. Then perhaps we need to work better on that. Because if we don't, we won't get these kinds of kids, quality kids that we're getting. And that has me concerned with enrollment. I really think that even though you had mentioned the positives to Ms. Vasquez, I still think that we need to work on the discipline in the schools if we want to keep attracting the best kind of kid. That's a fight that we have with our neighboring districts. It's a serious one. Okay, what else did I want to mention? I think. Yeah, that's it. Thank you, Mr. President.
Give up the floor, Mr. Ramirez. Yes?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Verdugo, thank you again for bringing this. Certainly, it's always a good topic. Certainly, it's always about academic achievement, performance. I know that your team, Dr. Lundeville, Mr. Shadler, and yourself certainly are looking at the numbers and always trying to make sure, because of course, we want to keep those B schools. I know that you're looking at CTE to maybe answering that question, because there can be a lot of singlets in there. And I'm certainly thinking that by next school year, we might have a few more of those.
So, and I do look forward to the letter grade discussion, because it's talking about academic achievement. The high school's a B for the first time. They were, as far as I've been here, they've never been higher than a C. So I'm looking forward to that conversation, and they also are getting a site visit for A+. So I think that they've shown that they're really doing some positive things about high school.
Okay, subject B, propose and prioritize topics and possible dates and times for future board meetings. Renee Ramirez.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Well. Because there was some misunderstanding with regard to what I wanted in the last board meeting. People made it sound like I wanted to know what the monies were made for just the Nogales game. And I didn't want that. I asked for how much money did we lose in all the games total that we had at home? It had nothing to do with the Nogales game. So I would like a side-by-side comparison of how many games did we have at home, first of all? That we didn't, first of all, how many games did we have at home without the bleachers? Can somebody answer that?
2 or 3? Or Hector, 2?
2, I think.
2.
Okay, so then I would like,
Nogales plus 1 more.
I thought there were 3, but okay. So I'd like to know in the games that we had at home without the bleachers, how much money we lost, because Isela pointed this out. And hats off to you, Isela, for doing that. Because she's like you always say, our financial guardian here, always watching out for us. And I want to make sure that we didn't lose any money with regard to this, because if we did, we're gonna hold ADM or Nordcon responsible for that, because we shouldn't lose a dime because of their mistakes, because of that the soil sample thing. So I like a side-by-side comparison.
For
And FYI,
for this year or?
2021 versus 2022, first 2 games at home.
Okay.
That's what I wanted. And also, I remember Mr. Beach mentioning us having a survey for the teachers to regarding, regarding discipline, morale. There was something specific. And I'd like to release the floor if Mr. Beach would answer, but
No, that's just when we're talking, and I think last year about discipline, one of my solutions was maybe a survey going out. Top 2 discipline issues at each school,
I remember now. Yeah.
or how they were addressing it. I'm not sure if it was addressed earlier on this year, but yeah, that was, I think, last year, but.
So yeah, if we can have some kind of, if we could see those surveys, if they were ever done, because you told us that you're gonna do it.
Do a survey is, we.
The teachers that name the top 2 things that they see as a problem in their school.
They're just during their leadership academy, and so forth. So, but we can do a survey.
Sure, I'd like that. I'd like to hear from them too. I think it's really important so that the board knows, get a little,
You want to send me what you would like on the survey?
that's another thing I was gonna, I don't know how you'd handle this, Mr. President, but it would be nice if we heard from the board too, what they think should be on that survey. I'd really like to hear from all my colleagues what they think. Cause I think that's important. Might not just be the 2 things that Mr. Beach mentions. So,
You just send it to us, what you want.
Certainly discuss and bring it back to the board, right?
yes, sir. And I'd also like to know how many substitute teachers we have in each of the schools teaching.
Long-term substitute.
Yes, teaching core classes. Specifically. I don't need to hear about all the other ones, just specifically core classes. How many subs do we have teaching in each school? Thank you, Mr. President.
Long-term substitute.
Yes. Okay. Well, I don't know, long-term and what do you mean by that?
So there's daily subs that come in. So like if,
No, just long-term, yes. Thank you. Appreciate that.
All right. Ms. Phobie.
I don't have an additional.
All right, Mr. Beach.
Yeah, I know we've been getting some of our state testing going. And I'm not sure if it's in future agenda items, but the 2022 spring Aspire data should be out. And I was wondering if we could see the site, district and state, how we compare them.
that's going to be the.
November.
We're gonna, that's where the letter grade and all of the,
Okay,
that's the whole.
all right.
Data we'll be discussing all
I
of.
have nothing.
Yeah, that's all of our data. It'll be data for each site. So we're gonna schedule an 1.5-hour study session to review all of the data, instructional action plan, or the IEPs. And so, and then blood grades. All.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
That's what I wanted. The letter graded.
All right. Do you want to add, Ms. Brewer? That sounds good.
I'm good.
Nothing else to add? Sure.
Positive.
Okay. I gotta make up for that mistake I had.
You better, man.
I will. So with that said, I don't have anything to add because we do have a major list that we need to get down from that 6 or 7. Some things are transpiring. Also, I guess there's a motion item here to open to move December. I'll bring you back in, Mr. Verdugo. I'll get this one, will just come down. As you can see. Do I hear a motion then to move December 13th, 2022 regular board meeting to Tuesday, December 20th, 2022? So move.
Yep, second.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please acknowledge by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, 5-0. All right, Mr. Verdugo. Yeah, Mr. Verdugo.
No, I was just gonna say that the reasoning for the change in the meeting is due to the ASBA conference. And so if there was any discussion of why it would be moved for that.
Hey, it's some more insight to it, so I was like, oh.
No, just that I was just gonna to clarify for anybody that wanted to know why we were moving. And so that will give us one meeting in November, one meeting in December. Just to clarify.
Maybe you were privy to some ASBA
No,
insider trading.
no, just, again, the conference that week. And then, so we didn't want to have the board travel after a board meeting.
All right, very good. It did pass. All right, so we move on. We're good, Mr. Verdugo? You're good?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, item number 4, consent agenda. Any matter of the consent agenda will be removed from the consent agenda and discussed as a regular agenda item on the request of any board member. Are there any requests from any board members? Any items?
I have none.
None. Ms. Morgan shaking her head no.
I don't either. I have no.
All right, Mr. Ramirez.
Oh, yes, number 6 and 7.
All right, 6 and 7. Which is the bicycle stuff. Very good. Anything else? I'm sure. Okay. Hearing that, then, do I hear a motion to approve the consent agenda? Items 6 and 7 will be discussed separately.
Second.
The motion is second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please acknowledge by saying aye. Aye. All right. Item number 6 is, for those that are watching out there, acceptance of the donation of the 24 bikes and pedal conversion kits and now it's currently green for San Catalan Elementary School in Mountain View. Number 7 is accept an elementary school Calabasas donor all kids bike with a value of 18,000. 7 is acceptance to rescind the donation of gas range from Miss Megan German, voted to donate to the food service department due to incorrect counting. Oh, I don't know, but we're gonna find out. Thank you for voting that. You start with number 6.
Oh. I can hear John Hayes' voice right now telling me, Mr. Armidas, that should be done in your governing board reports. And I wanted to echo what Mr. Beach said about it. I think it's really great that these people donated the $18,000. And I want to give a big thank you to all kids bike.
Oh, an extra special one. That's a good one, though.
Sure, Mr.
That
Hayes,
is-
Mr. Hayes' voice right now. Mr. Armidas, do that during.
Yes, that's okay. Nothing wrong with giving accolades for double for donations.
Big thank you to them.
All right, do I hear a motion then to approve item number 6 of the bikes?
So moved.
Second.
Motion second, any further discussion? Reach any more accolades? All right, all in favor, please acknowledge by saying aye. Aye. All right, number 7, yes, this wording is. Wow.
Well, number 7, I couldn't help but laughing that, this gas range was sent all the way from California out here, right? Because they confused the county, Santa Cruz County.
It was not sent. It has not been sent.
Oh, okay, that's where I wasn't sure about that, okay. So they didn't send it, because that was gonna be my next question is that who's gonna pay for the shipping of a stove, a big heavy stove all the way back to California? So thank God they didn't send it.
The moment the donor realized that he had made a mistake, she thought she was shipping the range to Santa Cruz, California. Then she realized she needed to resend the donation.
Did you ask her if she's willing to send it here?
No, Mr. Ramirez, I asked you to, next direction.
Thank you, Seven. Appreciate it.
I was wondering who Meg Durbin was. Apparently she's not connected to us.
No.
She has nothing to do with us. Okay. Do I hear a motion to accept the rescindance letter for this donation of this gas range from this person that doesn't like us?
Yeah, so moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? No, hearing none. All those in favor, please acknowledge by saying aye. Aye. All right, we're going to item number 5. This is discuss superintendent contract. It will be an executive section. discussion, excuse me. Hereby giving to the general public, the governing board of Santa Cruz Valley Unified School District number 12, may vote to executive session for the purpose of discussing the superintendent's contract and possible discussion of records exempt from public discussion. Do I hear a motion to convene executive session in room 125?
So move.
Motion is second. For the discussion, all those in favor, please acknowledge by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, we're now in executive session. Nope. Okay.
All right. Penny.
Okay.
Back on.
For a motion to reconvene to regular board meeting?
Hello.
All in favor, please acknowledge by saying aye.
Aye.
We are back in regular session and it is time of
6:19.
6:19. Thank you, Mr. B.
Mhm.
All right. Item number 6 is governing board meeting evaluation. Mr. Ramirez, you haven't evaluated now, have you?
Not in a while. So. And Mr. President, you keep doing a good job. I don't think that we talk about at times and being in that position can be very taxing. We had a good meeting. We're organized. We all have a voice, so what else can we say? So thank you.
All right. All right, then, do I hear a motion to adjourn this meeting?
So moved.
There's a motion and a second. All right. With that said, all those in favor, please acknowledge by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Those that do not want to vote?
Abstain.
All right. It is 6:21 PM.